Okay, today's Friday. It's 5:38 p.m. It is January 23rd. I finished off another week. Uh, managed to managed to uh, breach two challenges. One of them I was working on for about 2 months, and it was down to about 2%, and I allowed it to go to breach because I was in tilt mode. Then, as part of the tilt, I purchased a 5K to fall back on the 5K, and breached it within a matter of 4 hours. I was incredibly aggressive, uh, and initially I made some progress, made about a percent, and I was going for actually 2%. I was going for 4%, see if I can hit it out of the park. And then that unfortunately was swept up in a loss, and that was also breached. It's all part of that. It's all part of that tilt kind of thing. That for some reason it's like being hog-tied to using the stop loss. Then today, on a Friday, I've been working on the latest challenge, the 10K challenge, and yesterday, as part of that tilt, I was down 4%, but I managed to stop from breaching. Then today, I managed to acquire about 3% gain, okay, using the standard setups that I had, which in retrospect was performed correctly, okay, was performed correctly. Then I was tired, so it was at about 8:30 in the morning, and I was trading like the Asian market and the European market, and I was like, I can feel that I was tired, and so I did make enough, almost 3%. So so what I did was I had one uh, uh, limit order, okay, one limit order, and it already sounds bad. Okay, one limit order on UC. Okay, UC which about a 10 millilots, and it was right above the next support area, thinking that okay, if it breaches the current support area, then it's going to go reach there, and then it's going to bounce off that support, and it's going to go up. And the size was 10 millilot, right? And I had three 5 microlots of UC, okay? That when I last checked, it was hovering around an area where I thought, okay, so it should be okay to hold this over the weekend, okay? And it should be okay. After all, it's only 15 microlots, right? It's only 15 microlots, and and uh, and 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 the limit order was 10 microlots, so roughly about 25 microlots. So I got in my car and I slept uh, to sleep away the lack of sleep that I had for the whole week. It was an interesting kind of a week. Then I woke up at about approximately 2 o'clock. Okay, 2 o'clock, and I came in and I looked at it, and I looked at the screen, and I'm thinking, okay, well, it's down 1.5%. Okay, I felt it was down 1.5% just looking at the screen. Then I refreshed it. Now it was down 2.5%. So apparently the 1.5% only accounted for the existing 15 microlots. And then after it triggered the limited order, it was now down to 2.5%. So I'm sitting there. I'm going. Oh, I mean, it had moved so much. And then I looked up on AI search, and I looked at, hey, why is UC down today? And apparently the dollar is weakening because of a global economic situation. And on a Friday, within a matter of 6 hours, it just dipped. It just dropped. And I found myself, instead of being up 3%, I was down. I was I was actually I was at the starting point of the day, and then what happened was it dropped and kept dropping and kept dropping. And then what it does at the before right before the close, it had a flush, and that flush caught me. And I looked at it and I closed everything out. And after the flush, it bounced right back. So that flush would have been like a half a percent to a 1% difference. So instead of being up 3%, now I'm down essentially 1%. So again, it's a 4%. It's a 4% loss from the high of the day. So so what I realized is that if I don't remember, see, I'm not a swing trader, so I need to be aware of that. And so I know I'm gonna forget, and it's gonna happen again and again and again. And so what I have to do is, okay, one of the fortunate thing is that I didn't go big. Okay, I didn't have a big size underneath there. One lot would have breached the challenge, definitely. If I put one loss limit order there, instead of that being a 10 micro lot, the challenge would have been breached already. Fortunately, fortunately for me, uh, fortunately, even though it moved that much and I didn't have a stop loss on there, it moved and it just erased all the gains and then made me lose for the day, even though I was up 3%. Now that I'm looking at it, the day was actually executed very well. Except that there were some mistakes towards the end mistakes that I made. Right, one of them is a couple of things. One of them is the stop loss. I need to make sure. You know, I have a little I feel humorous about that situation, but this is a serious matter because it essentially breached it so much, and I've seen this before, like a few days ago, the same reason, and I fell for the trap of it again, and I keep forgetting that I'm not a swing trader. If I'm a swing trader, see, it's difficult for me to really fathom the difference between a day trading and swing trading because there's this overlaps. Because it's easy for me to conclude, you know, I have such a small lot size, it shouldn't move that much, so it should be okay. And then all of a sudden on a Friday, within a matter of 6 hours, it just essentially took all my gains, and then towards the end of it, took another percent off. So what I realized that trading is trading until there is no perfection in trading. So I have to use the word perfection loosely, saying that okay, so if I manage to make a gain, that's perfection. But the day is going to be filled with certain things. There will be things like, see, there's something called the 10 Commandments. I was thinking about this. The 10 Commandments, right? Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not. And there's 10 Commandments, right? And so I thought to myself, you know, there's probably a 10th commandment to trading, right? 10 commandment to trading. Okay, one of them is well, there's quite a few things, but what seems to be clear is that I'm not a swing trader. I'm a day trader, so I cannot expect to hold on to something over the weekend, especially when the weekend can cause an extreme amount of volatility. And I keep forgetting that. I forget about it because I get lulled into sense of security. Okay, I feel it's like it's a false sense of security. Okay, it's a false sense of security when the day is so successful, and then I overreach that false sense of security and place and keep a few microlots enabled, not even imagining something like that could happen, right? And it does happen, and it happens often enough. It happens often enough that any progress that I make is either with my own actions, by my own actions, immediately cause my account to be depleted, or some other force comes out, and then while I have something at risk, comes out and erodes the gains that I have, right? So when I look at it from my perspective, I'm thinking, okay, so that's only in total 25 microlots. If it adds on to that 10 microlots, it would be 25 microlots, and 25 microlots can be a significant thing when it moves that much, but it did move that much. And so the gains that I have, see, if I am persistently bombarded with difficult situations like making mistakes, uh, uh, entering heavy, entering heavy into a downtrend when I'm going up, and then placing these very very big lot sizes as a limit order without considering the potential for the price to move through it, that could essentially erode the gains that I have. So it has to fit into this thinking that I have now, which is now allowing me to make 3 to 4, 5 or 6, or even 8% gains in a single day now, because I am aware of how I can leverage these certain areas where I can in a concentrated format, take advantage of those areas where I feel comfortable in making those trades. But that same action is causing me to make mistakes. That mistake is forgetting that right before the weekend, if I hold something, even a minute size, when it moves a lot, can have a detrimental impact on my profits. Right? That's exactly what happened today. Right? So so it seems to me I am in a situation where uh, when I make a forward progress, because I'm so used to losing all the time. So I was also thinking about this as well yesterday, that the part of the reason that I'm losing is probably because I have been habituated into losing. Okay? I feel normal. It feels normal to be a loser. Okay? It's irregular. It's not right. It doesn't feel right to be a winner. It doesn't. Psychologically speaking, it feels weird because I'm so used to losing. I am so used to losing that it just feels abnormal when I make an outsized gain on a day. And so I have to find some means to undermine my gain. Whether it's conscious or subconscious, it's doing that. And so one of the things that I've noticed is that I'm trying to figure out a common theme of what I'm attempting to disclose today, right? Uh, so 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 if I were to recap now after 5 years, if I were to recap now after 5 years, I've now simplified. I've now simplified my trading. Okay, I've now simplified my trading into three different categories of trading. Okay, one of them is strong support. I know these names are only works for me. It doesn't work for anybody else, but it works for me. Okay, others are. I've also noticed that there are really sophisticated traders out there, and they know the name that everybody uses, and they talk in the same manner. They are book smart as well as street smart. These are people who use words correctly, the definition and the context of these trading words. They use it across the board so everybody else understands it. But for me, because my unique, special nature, uh, and I may have, I'm probably one of those people who would be benefited by the DEI program. Okay, I'm probably one of those persons who would be benefited by the DEI program. Okay, but I am a Republican. Okay, and I will vote Republican for the rest of my life. I will say that. I will say that without hesitation whatsoever, since what I've discovered. Okay, so I will not be part of that DEI program. That's why I'm here, homeless, making this YouTube videos, trying to become profitable in one of the most difficult disciplines, which is day trading, right? Day trading is the most important thing. So, if I were to recap, okay, this is a new year. This is the belated. This is a belated post of what's going on. It's January 23rd. It's fully 23 days into the start of the year 2026. Okay, and this is a new year. Okay, so um, so it's okay. So I'm going to make a prayer. Okay, I'm going to make a prayer. I am conscious of these things that are happening to me, right? I'm conscious of. So what I plan to do is I'll talk about the progress that I'm making, and then I will make a prayer of what will come. Okay, and what happens is that when I am seeking it, God allows that to happen, right? Even though it is probably impossible, since I should really be a poster child of the DEI. Okay, I should be the poster child of DEI. I should be. Okay, I should be. I need to be, but I don't want to be. Okay, so so uh, so so let's recap. Okay, so now I would say that I am now comfortable. I am now comfortable with my setups. I am. I am now comfortable with my setups. There are three setups that I'm using, and they're very, very simple. One of them is strong support, which failed today, okay? Which failed on UC. The strong support was breached today. So it does happen. Even though it's strong, it does get breached. Okay, which essentially is saying, okay, there's going to be a very wide and a very, very strong support, and then every time it gets there, it bounces up, and maybe 5% of the time it'll get breached, or maybe 1% of the time it breaches, right? That's the strong support setups that I'm talking about, and it doesn't happen too often, and it does fail. Okay, it failed today. Now, there's a second part, which is the soft support. Okay, soft support is a very dynamic support system where the price moves into an area and the price action reveals it. But until it's revealed, it's not recorded in the past because it's a soft support. It's like a DRAM memory. Okay, it's like a DRAM memory. When the power's off, it disappears. But when the power is turned on and price reveals it, it's there. Okay, until it's erased, it's there. Okay, it's not like a flash memory. Okay, yeah, right. So that means that support has a life cycle. Uh, okay, it has a life cycle. It means that it exists for a little bit and it disappears as the price moves about. Okay, it may come back into that area, but it may not be that support level. Okay, so that's the second. So that means that when it reaches it, it behaves in a matter of a breakout, bouncing off support, or it's breaking through a resistance. Okay, those are the couple types of trades that I'm looking for. Right, bounce off of support or breaking through. Essentially, that's what it is. Right. Those are the two types of trades. And these things are more reliable around those support and resistance areas, whereas if I pick any place in between, it could vary. It could toggle for a certain period of time. And so what I'm attempting to do is constrain the time in which the trade behaves in a favorable situation to my thesis. Okay, so that's the second setup. The second setup, which is the soft support, and the third is the breakout, right? It's the breakout. Okay, soft support and a breakout. Breakout is actually breaching the resistance area, right? In order for the third setup to function properly, there has to be some momentum and volatility involved, such that when it hits that, the background information is causing the price to move out of that region. If there isn't sufficient amount of macroeconomic and volatility stimulation, it'll revert right back into it because there isn't enough energy, financial energy, to move it out of the area to another area. And that's what breakouts do occur. So that's the three things. Recapping what I have defined as my trading setups. It took me quite a while. Now, to recap, another perspective is understanding, which I discovered a couple of days ago, is called, and my YouTube channel is called Tilting Tower of Kiso, right? So it plays on a couple things, three things. One of them is me, right? I am the person who is involved in trading, and my name is in there. And in Italy, there's a thing called Tilting Tower of Pisa, right? And that Pisa, except for the letter P, is very similar to me, and so it is tilting, right? So the word tilt is across the board. Tilting occurs in every facet of humanity, okay? Tilting occurs. Robots don't tilt, okay? Robots do not tilt. You just turn the power off, erase all the hard drives, and you boot it up, and then it behaves the same way no matter what. But human beings, only human beings, suffer something called a tilt. Tilt, by definition, it means that a person enters into a state of psychological disorder. That's what it is. It's a psychological disorder. This disorder occurs because a person myself, who is a human being, has a memory that's embedded into the mind, and that memory is negative, and that negativity causes the internal biology to create chemicals every time certain situations occur, and then it is infused into the body, where the body responds to the infusion of chemicals. One of them is adrenaline, the other is agitation. All these things, the brain, the thoughts creates in my body, and it perpetuates, it lingers for a certain period of time, causing me to be temporarily in a state of amnesia. It's a psychological disorder that causes the consciousness to be separated from the subconscious side, where the subconscious side is an overwhelming 99% of the current consciousness. So essentially what happens is the subconscious jumps into the conscious area and overcrowds it, like the illegal immigrants during the Biden presidency, and then just crowds out the U.S. citizens, and then makes the whole world a chaotic environment. And so it causes a temporary psychological disorder. And that psychological disorder plays on this flight or fight kind of a risk of a situation. And what that causes is the subconscious to be in a autonomous state where it has a directive that says, hey, I must make money, but while making money, still protect myself. And that is a potent combination of losses upon losses upon losses, because it makes me be aggressive, and then when I enter into it, I lose, right? That's what happens. So to recap, it is understanding my setup, it is understanding my emotion, and then now there's the third part, which is essentially what I've discovered today is this. These are incidentals. These are things that are called incidentals of trading. Okay? It is the business of trading. Okay? So I'm not a business owner. I am a business owner, but I'm not a restaurant business owner. And I worked at a restaurant for the past 5 years, okay? Since being convicted of a felony for grand theft, right? Even though I'm innocent, okay? That's how America works. If you don't know, one way to tell that you are a legitimate U.S. citizen, the U.S. government fucks with you. That's how you know that you are a U.S. citizen. If you're an illegal immigrant, you're above the law. Or if you're a Democrat, you're above the law. If you're a Democrat, you cannot be prosecuted whatsoever. You're like one of those like slimy eels. You try to grab them, but it just comes off. That's what the Democrats are. You can commit crime, lies, and cheat, and steal and defraud. It doesn't matter. It does not matter. Okay. That's the experience that I've seen from me. All what I've seen so far with YouTube and all these news organizations, they have demonstrated to me that the Democrats are essentially like one of those very slimy and slippery eels. They just get away with everything, right? That's what they do. If you want to get away with crime, just be a Democrat. That's it. But if you're a Republican, even if you're innocent, you just like Trump, okay, they'll come after you. Because one, you're a U.S. citizen. Two, you're a Republican who cares about the... Anyway, so that's... I digress. Okay, so... Now the third part is... Okay, I'm gonna really have to say this now. I finally get it. Okay, I finally figured out... I said this many years ago and things like that, but... And then I heard of this... these interviews about these people who are professional traders, and they say every year they say, "Hey, I finally got it. I finally got it. I finally got it." Right? Then I'm thinking to myself, "Okay, so do I really get it now? Have I really figured it out? Right? Have I really figured it out?" Okay? So I feel like I figured it out because now I can see how to make money. But now what's happening is that there are those incidentals. So there are three things. There are three things that are really an integral part of trading. One of them is the setups, which I finally discovered. The second part is figuring out what emotion is, right? And then there's the third part, which is the incidentals. The incidentals of trading, okay? Incidentals of trading. So a restaurant owner, I've experienced this many times, and this Catholic deacon, I don't know how God help me to know this Catholic deacon, but I'm so fortunate because my life has benefited greatly because of that Catholic deacon. I have a job. I could have been fired so many times. They said, "Hey, I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to deal with you. You cause so much headaches. Nobody likes you. You do your own thing. You get out of there. You're such a big problem. But, I'm still there. I'm still working. I'm able to afford this. I'm able to afford this cubicle because I have a job there that pays for this. I'm not one of those freeloaders who take SNAP benefits or get welfare and all that stuff. I don't get that. I don't want it. Okay, I want to make something. I want to make it in a legitimate manner where I work. Okay, I live out of my car. Okay, and I want to make sure I pay taxes. And when I pay taxes, I want to make sure those taxes are distributed correctly for the benefit of the country. Okay, not the benefit of the Somalians who are, Somalians. Literally, they're across the country. They're spread out everywhere. They're spread out in every state, just like a Chinese restaurant. So Chinese are known for Chinese restaurants, right? Somalis are known for child daycare, but they don't feed people. They take cash out of the taxpayer and then puts them in the suitcase and flies it over to Somalia to give it to the terrorists. So as a business owner, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful. Okay, I don't know how to say it, but I'm just thankful. Okay, because I'm incredibly difficult to get along with. Okay, because I got hit. I ran into a bridge when I was 6 years old, and it just messed me up. Okay, it just messed me up. It just messed me up. Okay, 24 years ago. Now it's not. Now I see. Now it's 24 years since my ex-wife divorced me. Now I know why. Because when you run into a bridge, your mind is struggling to put things back together. It's like the Big Bang Theory. Just wham! Now it's gaseous state, and this gaseous states, like our solar system, is expands in it, and then these earthen matters collect together and forms. But when you run into a bridge, the brain scatters with shock, and it takes years and years and years and years to form it back into shape. That's what's happening. So I'm grateful. So as a restaurant owner, what this Catholic deacon told me is that, well, we hire all the time. We hire all the time. When you hire all the time, it means that people who are there, there's a lot of turnover in a fast food restaurant. Okay, there's a lot of turnovers that occurs in a fast restaurant, right? And so as a businessman, you have to retrain them all the time. You have to, and they'll make mistakes. People who are new will make mistakes. Okay, you don't become an instant cook when they hire you as a cook. You don't become an instant dishwasher when you start. You have to be trained. Even if you're experienced, you don't know where things are. You don't know where to put things in. Even if you're a very good dishwasher, you don't know everything. Even if you're a very good cook, you don't know what's happening in that particular parts of it. You don't know where see the restaurant there. I don't know how they're going to solve it, but I have an idea how they can solve it. Okay. One of the most difficult things about working for a high quality cuisine served up in a fast food kind of a situation is that they have this thing which is a prepared thing called ice cream. It's ice cream potato, and what they have is that they have this ice cream potato that's in a freezer that's off. So you got to take several footsteps to get there, grab it from the freezer, and then move into two different areas. That's a lot of footsteps, especially during the summertime when people come by, and when you're moving around. And so one of the most difficult part of that restaurant in that particular setting, that's different than there's two locations, but one of the locations is the foot traffic distance between things are short. It's not, you don't have to go too far to get everything. And so a person who's manning something called the dinner side, okay, there's stations. So what happens is that when you're working there, when things get really busy, it is the hardest job you can do. At least if you're on the grill, sure, lots of orders comes in, but you're in a single place. You don't have to do anything. If you need something, you call somebody to get it for you. But when you're working on the dinner side, there are two major things. There are three major things that occurs. One of them is getting the ice cream and then giving it and making it, putting it there, walk over. If you do that like 100 times, it's a day during the summertime. It'll literally ruin your knee. It'll ruin your ankle, especially when you don't have shoes that makes it work, right? So then there's the part about frying certain things like the fingers and the fish and all that stuff, right? And then there's other part which is the salad bar. You have to do the salad bar, and then you have to also make certain. You have to. There's some items that you have to make on the frying pan, okay? So you actually literally have to cook it on the stove and things like that, right? And then you have to. I mean, it's a very, very complicated matter of juggling about 4 different things. And what complicates is that you have this one station doing all those, and literally you could be doing a marathon from the beginning of the shift to the end of the shift, because that's how much the body has to move. That is the bottleneck. That's probably the incidentals that nobody talks about. It's a hidden factor aside from the manpower and what needs to be done is the incidentals of running a restaurant. It has a high turnover because of that. A fryer who sits on the other side takes a fry from the freezer that's right there, picks it up, okay, refrigerator, and picks it up, put it in the grill, put it on the oil, fries it, and turns around and give it to right there. But those two people who are on the grill and the fryer, they don't do anything. They don't move around. They're there doing that thing for 5 or 6 hours. But the person who's on the dinner side, the incidentals of that person, because there are four things that needs to occur for that person, that station, is under an incredible amount of duress. One of the things is that getting that ice cream, walking all the way over there, a freezer, grabbing it, and then distributing it either to the drive-through or to the eating area, right, dining room. So that causes an inherent incidental a problem of turnovers. That's what that it causes turnovers. The other part is that people are there on a temporary basis to look for something better. Okay, fast food business is not a long-term business unless maybe you're working for McDonald's or something, right? Where their benefits are far better and things like that, right? Maybe that's what they want to do. But people want to move into different area because they know that it is only a temporary matter, and they move into other areas of interest. And so that's why inherently the incidentals the incidentals the incidentals is that we're always hiring. Okay, we're always hiring, right? Incidentals is we're always hiring because of that reason. All right. But if somehow they're able to put a freezer in the dining area and the drive-through area, then that can be addressed there. Then instead of having this person who is manning the salad bar, manning the fryer of fingers and fish and things like that, right? And the other part is the cooking of various things like spaghettis and things like that, right? And so that complicates it. Having all four of those things places an incredible amount of strain on that individual's end. That's why there's a lot of turnovers. That's the incidentals of running a restaurant, okay? And the thing about trading, the thing about the incidentals of trading is now apparent to me, okay? It was not apparent to me. Even though it is apparent, it's difficult to resolve because I forget. I keep forgetting. Okay, I get lulled into sense of false security. Okay, and I forget. I loosen up. I put my guard down. Okay, I put my guard down because it doesn't happen too often. But when it happens, it essentially just depletes all the gains that I have. Okay, and even though it just leaves my mind. It's like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, right? All right. So that's the third component of trading that I've discovered, and that seems to be the final piece. As I start to, granted, there is going to be a higher level of complexity in me, meaning discovering myself in the world of trading. That's going to make me into a greater and better trader. That always requires a greater appreciation for the setups, the greater appreciation for the psychology, and the greater appreciation for the incidentals that occur, okay? Which also ties into, it seems like psychology, which essentially it really is. It's the mind that's making money. It's the mind, it's the brain that's making money. In any practical sense of being employed, it's the mind that's making, it's allowing the progression and the advancements of any discipline, which is essentially is the mind. And now that I'm thinking about it, even these incidentals of trading, it is related to the mind because I'm forgetting that I'm not a swing trader. I was just lazy. I was tired towards the end of the day. I was tired, and I didn't want to think about the first thought that I had in my mind was, okay, I need to go rest because I've been at this for like 12 hours. I've been training for 12 hours. Okay, 12 hours for the past 5 days. I've been working on this for like 12 hours after going to work, getting a little bit of sleep, and sometimes not even getting any sleep at all, right? And these incidentals are essentially a component of the psychology that's in essentially the trading area. I could have the best setup, I could have the best psychology, but those incidentals that pops up that cause me to forget about the setup, forget about the psychology, and it causes these incidental things to occur, like today. So I was up 3% to cover this back, to look at it. Now this is now that I've sort of figured out what the setup is. Hopefully I don't forget about it. But I mean, again, it's like I'm talking about it. I'm trying to figure this out. This is how it's done. As I become more sophisticated in my trading, is that what used to take a great amount of energy to talk about something, now it has become a second nature because I've progressed beyond it, right? What used to take an enormous amount of effort to describe a single concept I'm trading, now I'm able to summarize it, put into perspective how they fit in as a single unit of a bigger picture. One of them is the setup, the other is the mind. Now this is the incidentals that I've noticed. So prominent example is today. I was up 3%. Okay, I'm rounding it up. It's almost 3%. Okay, then I got late. A couple factors. One of them is I was tired and I was lazy. Okay, I didn't want to think anymore because I was at it for the past 12 hours, making 3%. Okay, I made 3%, but my mind was in a shutdown mode. I had to go. I had to go to my car. I had to get some sleep because I was tired. I was tired. So what I forgot to do was to close out all my trades. Because logically speaking, my logic was telling me this. It's a small thing. You don't have to worry about it. It's not going to move that much. And it didn't even occur to me today was Friday. It did not occur to me that today was Friday. I had an idea, but it really didn't register into the significance of what Friday is. It is a day that starts the weekend. And the weekend essentially has a plethora of macroeconomic news that builds up towards Monday, whereupon instantly when the market opens on Monday, it's going to cause a cataclysmic event to occur to shift things into a trend kind of a situation. Okay, it may or may not, but chances are most likely it will. With POTUS Trump in charge, things like that will occur. Okay. Anything can happen. I should have been aware of it. But I forgot. Okay, I forgot the significance of what could happen if I allow a small size to sit for many, many hours. I was up 3%. Now it went down 4%. Okay? So it turned out when I was about to go get some sleep, I was up 3%, and then when I woke, came back, check on my trade, is down because of those small size. I forgot, and I was lazy, so these are the incidentals of trading. The incidentals of trading, okay? These are the incidentals of trading, which essentially is, have I gotten enough sleep? That's one, okay? Have I gotten enough sleep? Have I eaten well? Okay. Have I exercised? Okay. Have I exercised? Okay. Do I remember these things? Okay. Do I remember things? Do I have my risk kind of thing in check? Am I aware of what's going to happen anytime I have something? It's like, I suppose I thought about this many years ago, and now it's really becoming clear now. It's like putting my feet in a shark infested ocean. It's like putting my feet overboard into the waters where it is filled with shark infested area. It's an ocean that is shark infested. Okay, so I have to be aware of that, of my of myself being introduced into dipping myself into the world of trading is exposing myself to a shark infested ocean. Okay? I am essentially dangling my feet in a shark infested ocean. Okay, that's what's happening. Because it has to be a well-rounded. So these incidentals are, I'll group them together. I'll group them together. That tells me I'll group them together into that third category of trading. Okay, it may later on evolve it into something else, but there is that third category of trading, which is the incidentals of trading, which is I have to make sure I'm fed well. I have to make sure that I'm rested well. Okay, I have to make sure that I'm physically fit. Okay, and I have to make sure that my mind, okay, my mind, uh, I have to make sure that I remember. I have these things that are remembered. Okay, the mind will fit into the psychology of trading. Okay, but I have to make sure that I have the facts right. I have to make sure that when I'm in trading, that essentially I'm dangling my feet in the ocean, shark infested ocean. I have to be aware of that. Okay, I have to be, I have to be aware. I have to be aware anytime I have any risk. If I have any risk, okay. If I have this one micro lot, that's not a big deal. I mean, however much it moves, from what I've seen, based on whether it's going to be gold or whether it's going to be indexes, it can be tremendous. It can be a large, right, for a 10K account, but it's not as a detrimental, okay, but it is significant. But for the currencies, it's a minuscule amount. But when I'm talking about like tens and twenties uh, uh, micro lots, if we're talking about micro lots, it can be huge, especially on days like this. And so I found out that even a very, very small area, even, and with a limited order that's way past what I thought perceived to be a safe area, when it exceeds it, to my recollection, to my memory, I need to be aware of all the intricacies of these things that binds together, that creates a scenario where the market will create it. Okay, the market is going to create it and then find itself and making me aware of that. So that's the other part too. Like the other part is the other part is the other part is like I feel more comfortable being a loser than a winner. I don't. It's like I'm not used to it. I'm not used to being a winner. I'm not. I'm so used to being a loser. Maybe it's because I've been a loser for like past 5 years in trading, and I've gotten so used to it. It just feels not right, and I have to like figure out a way to like make it right by losing on purpose. Okay, maybe that's what's going on. Psychologically, I think so apparently so those are the things that I've discovered so far. Apparently um there's an animal called opossum, okay? And I learned this today on YouTube. I learned this on YouTube, okay? And this is very similar to who I am. Okay, I'm not an opossum, okay? Opossum, not possum, opossum. The act of being an opossum is being a possum, okay? A possum. Apparently there's a word called possum. There's also a word called opossum. Opossum is the name of the animal. Possum is the act of being an opossum. Possum means that opossum, what the opossum does, I just learned this from YouTube, is that when the opossum feels threatened, it acts like it's dead, okay? That's called being possum. Because it's a survival instinct where animals will get grossed out, and they have this expression of going like that, right? They make themselves so gross that the animals who thought it was hungry for it just goes away. So apparently when you're playing possum, like that, right? You make it look so gross that they don't want to eat you. That's the whole survival instinct of the opossum, okay? playing possum. The opossum plays possum. All right. So what did I learn from that? What did I learn from that? Okay. So apparently it's not a conscious thing. Okay? What the opossum is doing, playing possum, is not a conscious thing. It's a subconscious thing. That's what I heard. That's what I learned. It's a subconscious thing. So essentially, I've gotten so used to losing that I feel so uncomfortable that I have to figure out some way to trick myself to lose to make myself better. I think that's another psychological thing that's happening. Okay, it might be some other chapter that I will fine tune as I whittle down these things that are impacting my trade. But initially, there are so many things that could cause me to lose money. Is that now that I'm like fine tuning it? So now one of the things that I have is the setups. And I'm getting these setups. I know what setups I need to take. I know that if I do this, which I did a couple days ago, because I was on tilt, I keep like, I didn't want to see it. I didn't want to admit to myself that the market is doing something else. I had to just vent my frustration by trying to like take risks. Okay, you can't do that to me. I'm just gonna put size on, and it's gonna be correct. No, the market. So that's why there's a big debate. Now I see why. There's a big debate between reacting and predicting. Okay? Okay, reacting with predicting. But the act of reacting is predicting. Okay? So they can talk about it, but the right answer, and nobody will agree to this, but predicting is reacting. Okay? Reacting is that I see it, I'm going to react this way in prediction of what's going to happen. But even these people who are making money, they don't understand it. So they are smart in spotty areas, but they're not smart enough to understand the meaning, the definition of the words predicting and reacting. Okay, if you react, you're predicting in itself. You're when you react, you've taken an action to see what the future consequence will be. So you took action that's predicting what's going to happen. Okay, that's predicting. Anyway, so the opossum is playing possum, and it is a subconscious behavior. Okay, it's a subconscious thing. And what I've noticed about how that subconscious thing like comes up is that look at it. Look what I've done today. Okay, I was up 3%. And then I just went outside, got some sleep, and when I came back, it was down 4%. It was actually down 3% and then started to go down more. And then I had to close it out because if it's down this much, it's possible that it's going to keep going down, okay? I could not risk further decline, all right? So I know how to make money based on what I've experienced, but these incidentals are causing me to lose now. It is these incidentals. Of course, these incidentals like not seeing the market correctly. That's another one. Not seeing the market correctly, even though it's plain as day. I don't want to admit. I don't want to change my thinking, even though the market is saying I'm not even looking at it. Okay, I'm not even looking at it. Okay. The second part is I don't remember. Okay, I don't remember this situation where because it doesn't happen because I wasn't seeing it too often, right? And so I forget the impact of what happens if I leave the trade on while I'm not there. It could cause a great big problem. I've experienced this numerous times, but I keep forgetting about these things. These are the incidentals of trading. Okay, these incidentals. I need to make sure I wrap these up. Okay, I need to make sure that I have these incidentals focused on the trading at hand. And I'm not aware whether I'll do something about it is something else, but I am not aware. Okay, I am now aware that when I'm tired, the one thing that I want to do is allow myself to get rest. And anything that I do, whether it involves money or anything like that, it doesn't matter. Because for me, somehow, it registered into my mind the most important thing and the action that I would take, and nothing else interferes with that. Okay, even if I have some trades on, even if the size is small, I want myself to believe that I will have no consequence of what's going to happen a few hours down the road. So the third component of trading essentially is, yeah, I got the setup. Okay, sometimes I won't read it right because essentially it boils down to the psychology. Okay, because even though the market is saying something and I know about it, I've experienced it. I've done this thousands of times, but sometimes the mind isn't right and it won't see it. Even though it's so simple, it just doesn't want to see it because something else is interfering with it, like something called a tilt. Okay, the subconscious side, which essentially is part of that, which is amygdala and the tilt, go hand in hand, right? And the third part is that incidentals. These incidentals are essentially those things that I forget, okay, to realize the significance of keeping the trades. The second part is the other part is holding something over the weekend, right? Because I keep forgetting about it, right? Uh, so these are the things that I need to be more conscious of. Who knows? It might take another 5 years when I become more familiar with it, as I become more familiar. But these things will happen. These things will happen. Sometimes I'll be going, what? What just happened? What just happened? How did that happen? How how did I allow that happen? It's because it's the how did I allow it to happen? It's because my mind, it all goes back to my mind. My mind was distracted in servicing another interrupt in my thinking that superseded anything else that was going on. Okay, and that infringes on being able to see the setups correctly. Infringes on my ability to use my mind correctly, the psychology the right way, and then thirdly, it infringes on all the incidentals that occurs because of that fact, right? And and these components essentially goes up to where that ego is, the self, the ego is made up of how I eat, how I exercise, how I rest, okay, and how I feel that day, okay. These are the components. These are the things that are causing the incidentals to pop up, okay. So the incidentals arises uh, from nutrition, exercise, uh, uh, okay, nutrition, exercise, all these things about myself. So what are those? Let's. What are these things like? Nutrition, exercise, uh, and rest. Those are three biggest ones. Are so important. These are so important in trading. Okay, rest, rest, food, and exercise. Okay, these are the three very, very important things that impacts incidentals. Rest, rest, okay, rest, food, and exercise. Those are the three things that prepares me. The incidentals, right? I uh, I told a trading buddy of mine. I said, this is the hardest thing that I've ever done. This is the hardest thing that I haven't done much, but out of those maybe a few things that I've done in life, okay, I've already figured out. I've already figured out why my ex-wife divorced me. I know that. I already know that. I come to terms with that. I've come to terms with it. I figured it out. I solved it. I figured it out. I figured out why I was divorced. I know that. I know why she divorced me. I know it. I know it. Okay? It was hard. It took me 23 years to figure it out, but I figured it out. I needed to figure it out for myself. Okay? For my kids. I had to figure it out. If I didn't figure out, I didn't feel like I've given enough respect. If I didn't figure it out, if I didn't solve this, I felt that I was not giving enough credence to what she did. I had to figure out why she did that. for her and to my kids and for myself, I had to figure it out. That was hard. It took me 23 years to figure it out. Now this trading, so far I've been at it for 5 years trying to figure this out. Okay, but what I've noticed about, there's so many things that are involved, but I have to create. It's like running a. It's like a. It's like trying to run Windows 11 on one of those 386 machines. Okay, you can't run Windows on a 386 machine because, first of all, that 386 is limited to 64K in SRAM. Okay, that's one. Okay, the hard drive on a 386 system was, I think it was like, what was that, megabytes, I think. But now it doesn't even fit one program into that right now. So you can't run that. So essentially the incidentals of trading is the hardware. It's the hardware. Okay? It's not the software. The software is there somewhere. It's there, partially formed, but as long as the hardware is in upkeep, it is able to allow the software to flourish. If the hardware is doesn't have enough sleep, not enough food, not enough exercise, it's gonna bog down. It's gonna bog down. So what I've noticed are those incidentals are causing a dramatic degradation in my edge. Okay, what I have at a slight edge on my setups and my psychology is way down by those incidentals. These incidentals are food, sleep, and exercise. But it's hard to be, so it's hard to police myself to understanding what that is, especially after like 16 hours of session, because I'm so involved in it, I forget that I'm tired, I'm hungry, and my body's aching. The positive side is this. I made 3% today, knowing that I used my setups. Okay? Knowing that I used my setups to get 3% today. It could have actually been bigger. Okay, it could have been bigger. I was somewhere between highly risk averse to highly risk taking, and somewhere around here. But I could have been a little bit higher, and I could have gotten it could have been a glorious day. It could have been. Okay? It could have been. It could have been. So I see the potential. I see the potential with the setup and the risk management that I have, plus the psychology behind it. I can see it now. Even towards the end of today, I saw that. It's just the flush. What I recognize is this. Only after the fact, after I got out. When it's moving like that, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, it's gonna fall through. So I had to exit. Okay? I had to just cut my losses. Even though it's like extreme. Okay, I had to cut my loss and I said, hey, look, I'm done. Okay, I'm done for that. I'll get it back. I'll get it back. If not this challenge, I'll get it back. I know I can get it back because I proved it today. Without being too extreme or too conservative, I was able to fit it somewhere in between that spectrum. Okay, risk versus conservatism, being conservative. And I've noticed that I was able to make 3%, but I could have, just looking at it, I could have made a lot more. I can see it using my setups. And my psychology was there too. Okay, my psychology was there. Okay, so I can see that. I can see the potential to take this higher. But that third element, which is the incidentals, I need to become more aware of that as well in order to enhance my trading. I hope that helped me.